Je vais peut-être parler en français.
Because as the President of the Republic of France, but also because here, given the subject, it is important to travel between the two languages. It's difficult to start a speech after what we have just seen. And let me tell you how this has inspired me very directly. All that you are trying to do, all that we are trying to do, that means that multilingualism is not irreplaceable. Because there were few words in the play, and these young teenagers told us about a subject that covered many linguistic horizons that you know here in New York City. This isn't your daily way of life. It was in the past, because there are waves of immigrants here. And now this is one of it's a shame of humanity, the death of so many people coming from Africa, crossing the Mediterranean. And this is a topic that you talk about in Italian, in French, and in German. What do I mean by that? These young people were very sensitive, and they talked about this topic because it is a universal topic in both languages. And you have a consciousness and a conscience behind the language. And these children are educated, they learn, and they evolve through life with several languages, which allows them to enter many imaginary universes, to have different consciousnesses, different challenges, and to be in different geographical places. Cosmopolitanism is realized through multilingualism. It's not one language that dominates one other, but through the translations, through traveling, going to one imaginary system to another, to translate one system into another. The battle that you are leading, I spoke with the Minister of National Education. We are fighting for our children so that they can learn here and everywhere in the United States, to learn both in the language of Shakespeare and the language of Molière. And that allows them to become, in the future, men and women who will work more efficiently and who will be able to work in many different places and to improve productivity, which is sort of a frightening expression for our economies. But this also makes their conscience grow. They can construct their own emancipation wherever they might live. And they have access to something that one language alone cannot allow them to have. And nothing can replace that. No General Assembly at the UN, no meeting of any leaders. This gives the possibility to citizens to translate from one language to another and to move from one imaginary universe to another. I think these teenagers did that wonderfully. I deeply believe that this initiative that we are launching here today, and that we are launching with you, with the role which is essential of the French embassy, and our goals are to support American schools but we need to able to embody this mission. And beyond what we do today, we need to continue this battle for for language learning. And as I said earlier, that's what we were doing this morning with the president of Senegal. We want to have spend 3 billion for education in order to have an essential opponent, which is language learning, because this is a challenge here in New York and throughout the United States. This is a challenge in Europe where bilingualism, multilingualism will continue to be developed, but it is also something that applies to all banded languages. Underdeveloped countries, the poorest countries, there the battle for education and language learning is a battle against obscurantism, against radical religion. And that explains why we have so much immigration. The language is the sharing of civilization. And this is important to us. And there is a certain enthusiasm in bilingual education here in the United States, with more than 150 throughout the United States, in more than 45 schools, more than 29,000 students here in New York have this type of education, as well as in Utah, Louisiana, and Miami. And this is a way of saying that things are going well already for the President of the Republic. And that's why I said that. But what you are undertaking is to go much further than that. With the Fund for Bilingual Education, you are encouraging the teaching of languages throughout the country to open new programs, to begin new programs, and to give the priority to administrators and to teachers, and so that we're making use of innovative teaching methods in the classroom. I'd like to thank the University of New York for welcoming us today. And I would also like to warmly thank the donor in the past and in the future. There's the Chanel Foundation, BIC, Mr. Hubert Joly, Best Buy, AXA, with their generous gifts, and also the numerous parents who have contributed to these programs. And thanks to you, we have the resources to begin this work, and we hope to encourage other donors. And I am completely convinced that this way we'll be able to reach all children in all classrooms, wherever their social status. And everyone brings his or her stone to the building of this building. And what you are undertaking now, we encourage you to continue to do it through the activity of our ambassador and their assistants, and well as everything is possible in education, because you're not just learning a new language, you're teaching differently in another language. And it is important through the action of this fund that there may be exchanges among students, and so that we can also share teaching methods. And we need to, in a sense, refound our schools, but also the way we teach teachers to teach. I think that what you are doing and what you have decided to do is very important. And I want to think this is a work of civilization for the future. Each of you and I recognize some people here in the room. Each of you have a share of responsibility as a donor, as an artist, as a teacher. You are the bridges between different universes. And sometimes you have the feeling that France and the United States are moving away from each other. But it's through these small bridges, human bridges, personal bridges, that we will be able to save our future. I don't know what's going to happen in the next decades, but one thing I do know is that the more you have students in France who have learned to speak English and speak directly with Americans, there may that as well as many American students that learn French. They might like a French actor or an actress. There will be a real exchange that is at the cultural level. And I think this can save us from what is worst. Because at the most serious moments, the most difficult moments, they will remember these little details that make up life. I would like to tell you a story which that affected me very much. And we're talking about language. I was an assistant to a very well-known philosopher, Paul Ricoeur. He was an orphan. He lost one parent in the Second World War. He learned German. And he was imprisoned during the Second World War in a camp. And in this camp, he studied, or rather, he taught philosophy to other prisoners. And this play reminded me of that. He had just one book. And during his years of captivity, he translated the book in the margins. And in 1947, the first translation in French of De Montretout was signed by Paul Ricoeur. He had every reason to detest Germans, but some teachers taught him the German language, German civilization. And so he didn't allow him to get out of this bubble. And you will be teaching a language to many children in the most intimate way. And thousands of kilometers cannot erase these ties. And by doing that, you are doing the work of civilization. Thank you very much, and we will be with you in your efforts in the future. Once again, thank you very much.